Hello everybody, and welcome to another prediction video where today, as my last two videos on the AFC North and AFC West, I'm going to be predicting the AFC South for the 2021-2022 season in the NFL. The first team I want to talk about is the Houston Texans. This team finished third in the division last year, only in front of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and had one of the worst blow-ups that I've seen in a long time. This team decided to throw away DeAndre Hopkins for literally nobody and no good picks whatsoever, and ended up sucking. That's just plain and simple. They ended up sucking. That offseason was a crazy offseason, and so many players were switching around, but nobody thought that he would be traded, as that's the only way the Texans were successful, and it showed this season. After this season, with them placing 4-12, and that is one of the worst records of the league, they lost their first round pick because they traded for Laramie Tunsil and gave up a first round pick that was for the Dolphins, and that became the number 3 overall pick. The Texans ended up getting completely screwed over by their own mistakes, and it shows that you got to be actually smart to be a good general manager and head coach. And luckily, the guy Bob was fired and let go by the team, and luckily, they don't have to be under his wrath anymore. The team also lost J.J. Watt and a few other pieces this offseason, and now the team has to sort of rebuild, which is really unfortunate. And also with Deshaun Watson's accusations against him that I'm pretty sure still have not been fixed. It's almost been a few months since that started, but now it's like they've gotta like figure that out as well, as he's your young quarterback. Like it's gonna be stressful for that. But I think for this team, they've got plenty of time. They've got another month till preseason starts, and I think you just got to accept that you're a bad team. You got to rebuild, and that's what you got to do. My prediction for this team is that they will finish 5-12. I think this season it won't be anything different than last season. I don't think they've gotten any new pieces whatsoever. They drafted Davis Mills, who was one of the lower quarterbacks in the draft, and picked him in the second round, and possibly to replace Deshaun Watson, meaning he's just gotta be the backup. And if Deshaun Watson ends up leaving or gets suspended or gets put up in free agency, whenever that is, he's gonna have to take the role. But I think this team's gonna suck. They're gonna go 5-13, and they will most likely place 4th in the division. The next team I want to talk about is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team had an absolute tank, beating the Indianapolis Colts in week 1 and losing all of the next 15 games, finishing with a 1-15 record. They actually were in front of the Jets throughout most of this season, with the Jets being 0-13, but deciding to win the next 2 games, or put 1 game in front of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jacksonville Jaguars got the number 1 overall pick. This means they were able to successfully get Trevor Lawrence and easily picked him up within the first minute. Easy picked up Trevor Lawrence, and they got their superstar franchise QB that'll hopefully get them to the next level. They had 2 picks in the first round. Their next pick was to get another Clemson player with Travis Etienne to be the running back position, and now they're going to have a dual threat of James Robinson and Travis Etienne. They got a little bit of other players that I don't really remember, I'm going to be honest, but this team has quite a lot of potential now. They're younger. They have still rookies like Laviska Shenault, so even young players like Josh Allen or Miles Jack. So this team is still quite young. They've got CJ Henderson as a young corner, so they've got plenty of young pieces. Now just make sure that they're able to mesh them together, keep them developing, keep improving, and you can't get any worse than a 1-15 record unless you literally go and have the perfect season like the Browns. I think that they will most likely finish actually better than the Houston Texans with a 6-11 record. That's what I think. I think they will finish better than the Houston Texans, as yes, they have a better quarterback, but they've got no pieces around him. And with Trevor Lawrence, he's got young pieces around him that can definitely develop. He will definitely, have a good situation for him, and he will improve this Jacksonville Jaguar team to finally not being a 1-15 team anymore and trying to get back to what they were in 2017, going to the AFC Championship game. The third team I want to talk about is the Indianapolis Colts, who made it all the way to the AFC wildcard game this year, finishing at the 7th seed in the AFC, and were able to almost beat the 2nd seed Bills and upset them in Buffalo. This team had unfortunately lost Philip Rivers. He had retired with his 10,000 children, and he unfortunately left, and that was a huge hole going into this free agency. They were able to trade with the Eagles and get Carson Wentz for a 2nd and a 4th, if I'm not mistaken, and now they have a young quarterback who has time to prove himself and get back to what he was in 2018. This team had a very good season last year. All around, they were well-rounded. They're young rookies like Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., this entire young team. Now that they got rid of Philip Rivers, who was 40 years old, 37 I think, now they've got a younger team, and they can definitely keep developing these players and keep improving, and they could even get better. It's just a year that they've got to prove Carson Wentz if he's actually good or not. He had a rough year last year in Philadelphia. He had bad tensions with Doug Peterson, and Jalen Hurts was eventually starting over him halfway through the season. So this is a time for him to prove himself and see if he can actually be a good quarterback like he was in 2018. I think that for this team, the Colts, they've got a pretty tough schedule going against my team in week 1, and they've got a pretty average division. They've got the Tennessee Titans, who are really, really good. They've got the Texans, who are obviously going to be, you can sweep them. And they got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who you can lose to. Now, 2 young players that are pretty good, so got to be careful of those. I think that this team will probably finish around 10-7 or 11-6. That is my prediction. I'll most likely lean towards 10-7, as I think that this team will lose quite a few games, but will win some important ones and could possibly sneak in the AFC playoff picture and possibly win the division if it's weak enough. But I think that this team will finish 10-7 and have 2nd in the AFC South, as I think that the Tennessee Titans will take the number 1 spot in the division. So, where do I think they're going to place? I think the Tennessee Titans have quite a well-rounded team. Ryan Tannehill has blossomed into quite a good starting, a top 15 quarterback in the league. Derrick Henry is by far the best running back in the game. A.J. Brown has developed into a really, really good receiver for the Titans, being teammates with DK Metcalf. They acquired Julio Jones from the Falcons in a trade deal that really benefited them completely. Their defense isn't that good, with only players like Kevin Byard that are notable on the team, but you don't need a notable defense. Last year they did struggle on defense, but I think that they're still going to be perfectly fine with a high-flying and run-attack offense, and I think that will definitely carry the team, and they'll get them throughout the season and win plenty of games. I think that the Tennessee Titans will finish 12-5. I think that this year a bunch of teams will be finishing around the 12-13 win mark. I don't think any team is going to be like the Chiefs and go 15-1 and the other teams are at 13, 12, 11. I think that all the teams will be around 12-13 wins if they win their division. So I think the Tennessee Titans will go 12-5 and win the division. So my order for the AFC South is Tennessee Titans first in the division at 12-5. The Indianapolis Colts at second in the division with a record of 10-7. The third team in the division is the Jacksonville Jaguars with a 6-11 record, and fourth is the Houston Texans, who have a 5-12 record. That is my prediction for this AFC South. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit shorter than my last video. Just wanted to compress it into a little bit quicker, as of course you guys don't want to watch a whole 16-minute video. So hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, comment if you want, and I will see you in the next one. I will be doing the AFC East, then I will be jumping over to the NFC side of the NFL. Hopefully you're excited for preseason coming up in less than a month, almost 3 weeks, and that is going to be super fun. I sort of get to see how teams are going to be doing, how they're going to be playing, and gets a little bit hyped up for the regular season. But again, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. That's about it. See ya.